The sun was low in the sky, painting the city in shades of gold and orange. Lila walked through the crowded streets, her bag heavy with notebooks and devices. She was used to seeing the city alive with people, but today her mind was elsewhere. Her thoughts were on the lab, on experiments, and on questions that seemed too big for one person to answer. Could humans really be more than they were? Could they reach new heights of strength, speed, or intelligence? As she rounded a corner, a man stepped out of a small bookstore, carrying a worn leather bag. He looked up and smiled, a small, quiet smile that made Lila pause. There was something familiar in the way he carried himself, calm, steady, confident, but ordinary enough not to draw attention. "Excuse me," he said softly. "Are you Lila Martins?" She blinked. "Yes. How do you know my name?" "My name is Kieran. I've seen you around and I've read some of your papers. Your work on human enhancement is impressive." Lila raised an eyebrow. "Really? Most people just call me a dreamer." "And you just happened to be walking by?" Kieran shrugged, his expression unreadable. "Maybe I was. Or maybe I was meant to meet you." The odd certainty in his voice made Lila pause. There was something about him that didn't fit the ordinary city life. The way his eyes seemed to notice details others missed. The way he moved with quiet confidence. Yet, on the surface, he looked no different than any other man on the street. "All right," she said, smiling despite herself. "Since you know me, do you want to grab a coffee? I have a few minutes before I need to get back to the lab." Kieran nodded. "I'd like that." They walked to a small cafe tucked between two tall buildings. Inside, the air smelled of fresh coffee and baked bread. Lila noticed how easily Kieran adapted to the crowd, moving smoothly through the narrow space without bumping into anyone. He ordered a black coffee, simple and direct, and then they found a small table by the window. "So," Lila began, trying to mask her curiosity, "you read my papers. What did you think?" "I think you are asking the right questions," Kieran said, his eyes focused on hers. "But you're too cautious. Humans can do more than you imagine. You just need to see the potential." Lila laughed softly. "Too cautious? Maybe. Or maybe I just don't want to create something that could be dangerous. We're talking about changing humans, making them stronger, faster, smarter. That's not a small thing." Kieran's gaze didn't waver. "Danger comes from fear, not progress. You worry about what humans might become if they are enhanced. But what if they become what they are meant to be? What if they become more?" The words made Lila pause. They were bold, daring, almost reckless. But there was a conviction behind them that made her curious. "And what do you know about becoming more?" she asked, half in jest. "More than you think," he replied, but he didn't elaborate. They talked for nearly an hour, discussing ethics, science, and the limits of human potential. Lila found herself intrigued by Kieran's perspective. He wasn't just intelligent. He seemed to understand people in a way that went beyond books and studies. There was an instinct, an intuition, a quiet strength in him that made her feel like he could handle anything. When Lila finally glanced at her watch, she realized she was late. "I have to go," she said quickly. "The lab won't wait," Kieran nodded. "I understand. But I'll see you again." She didn't know why, but she believed him. The next few days were a blur of experiments and calculations, but Lila couldn't stop thinking about Kieran. She remembered the subtle shimmer in his eyes, the way he seemed to notice details she didn't, the way he spoke about human potential as if he had lived it. Then, one evening, as the sky darkened and the city lights began to glow, she received a message. It was simple. "Meet me at the old research facility. I need to show you something." The old facility was abandoned, or so the public thought. It was a relic from an earlier age of experimental science, tucked on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by fences and overgrown weeds. Lila's heart raced as she approached. She had no idea what she would see, but something told her it would change everything. Kieran was waiting at the entrance, calm as ever. He gestured for her to follow. Inside, the facility was quiet, almost eerily so. Machines that had not run in years hummed faintly, lights flickering as if awakening from a long sleep. "This place," Lila whispered. "It's been abandoned for years." "Why are we here?" Kieran turned to her, his expression serious. "Because what I'm about to show you cannot be seen anywhere else. Not in the lab, not in the city. Only here." He led her to a large chamber in the center of the building. The walls were lined with equipment she recognized from her research papers. Machines designed for biological enhancement, but far beyond what she had ever imagined. Lights blinked on the panels, energy hummed through the floor, and the air felt charged with anticipation. "Step back," Kieran said softly, and Lila obeyed instinctively. He moved to the center of the chamber, standing under a network of tubes and glowing panels. Lila watched, confused and curious, as the machinery began to activate. Sparks of energy danced along the metal and the air shimmered. "Wait," she said.
"What are you doing?"
"I'm showing you what humans can become," he said simply. "What I can become." Before her eyes, Kieran's body began to change. At first it was subtle, muscles tightening, posture straightening, eyes glowing faintly with energy. Then more dramatically his form shifted. Strength and speed radiated from him, his reflexes sharpening with every second. Lila's breath caught in her throat. He moved with precision, agility, and grace that no ordinary human could possess. Machines measured his capabilities in real time, displaying numbers and readings that made Lila's head spin. Strength, speed, intelligence, reflexes, each parameter exceeded anything she had ever recorded in human history. But it wasn't just physical. Lila noticed the calm in his eyes, the clarity in his mind. He was aware of every detail in the room, every potential threat, every subtle change in the air. And yet, he looked at her and smiled. A smile that said he was still the same person she had met in the cafe, the same person she had trusted. Lila staggered backward, overwhelmed. I don't understand. This is impossible." Kieran extended a hand toward her. "It's not impossible. It's human potential. We've only just begun to unlock it." She wanted to be afraid, to question the ethics, to demand answers, but all she felt was awe. She realized that the ordinary man she had met days ago was now something extraordinary. Not just a soldier, not just a machine, but a human who had transcended limits she didn't even know existed. For the first time, Lila saw the future, not as a distant possibility, but as something tangible, something alive, standing right in front of her, and she knew without a doubt that her life and the life of humanity would never be the same again. The city outside continued its noisy routine. Unaware that something extraordinary had awakened in one quiet corner, Lila took a deep breath, steadying herself. She had a choice to make, to run back to safety or to step forward into a new world of possibilities. She chose to step forward. And in that moment, the ordinary became extraordinary. The next morning, the city seemed quieter than usual, as if it sensed a change in the world. Lila walked through the streets with her mind racing. The encounter at the abandoned research facility was still vivid in her thoughts. Kieran, ordinary man turned extraordinary being, was now something beyond comprehension. She had no idea how it had happened, or what it meant for humanity. Yet a part of her felt excitement, a thrill she could not explain. Her footsteps took her back to the lab where rows of equipment hummed softly. She tried to focus on her own research, but her thoughts kept returning to Kieran. Could someone truly achieve such a transformation? She had studied enhancement technologies for years, but what she saw yesterday exceeded every theory, every model, every expectation. Then, her phone vibrated. A simple text message blinked on the screen. "Come to the facility. I have something to show you." Her heart raced. The same facility? Surely it was dangerous. But curiosity pushed her forward. She left the lab and made her way to the edge of the city, where the facility waited like a forgotten monument. Its walls were cracked, the paint peeling, but inside it held secrets far greater than anyone outside could imagine. Kieran met her at the entrance, his expression calm, almost serene. His presence alone seemed to command the space around him. Lila felt a strange mix of fear and admiration. "You're back," Kieran said, his voice steady. "I didn't think you'd come so quickly." "I need answers," she replied, unable to hide the tremor in her voice. "What you showed me yesterday, it doesn't make sense." Kieran smiled faintly. "It will make sense soon enough. But first you need to see everything, not just a part of it." He led her inside. The chamber that had transformed him was alive with energy. Machines blinked, cables hummed, and panels displayed streams of data that she could barely comprehend. Lila's eyes widened as she took in the scene. All of this is for human enhancement?" she whispered. "Not just enhancement," Kieran corrected. "Transformation. Evolution." Before she could ask another question, Kieran stepped into the center of the chamber. The machines activated once more, but this time, they did not just touch his body, they connected with his mind. A soft hum filled the room, vibrating in her chest. Lila felt a tingle run through her fingers and toes as if the very air had changed. Kieran's form began to shift again. His muscles tightened, more defined and powerful than before. His reflexes seemed faster even before the process completed. Lila could see the way his eyes adapted to the light, glowing faintly as if seeing beyond the physical world. But what struck her most was not the physical change. It was his awareness. Every movement, every detail in the room, every potential threat was visible to him at once. He could anticipate changes in the environment before they happened, like a living, breathing network of observation and analysis. Lila staggered backward, clutching her bag. This is impossible, she whispered, though she had seen it with her own eyes. It is not impossible, Kieran said softly. It is human potential unlocked. We are capable of so much more than we believe. Lila studied him closely. Even in this extraordinary state, he radiated calmness, a quiet humanity that she could not ignore. You're still, you? She said, searching for the right words. Even with all this power. Yes, Kieran replied. I am still me. But I am more than I could be without this. He extended his hand toward her and she hesitated. The instinct to flee battled with curiosity, but she finally took his hand. A surge of confidence and warmth spread through her, and she realized that Kieran's transformation did not make him less human. It made him more aware of humanity itself. Kieran turned toward one of the monitors, which displayed a city map. Red dots pulsed across the screen, each one representing a threat. Unmanned drones that had gone rogue in the industrial sector, malfunctioning machines that could harm civilians. They've started testing without us, Lila said, her voice tense. The drones, they're attacking the city? Yes, Kieran replied. And we need to stop them, not just with strength, but with strategy. The city cannot rely on ordinary humans alone. It needs something more. Something capable of protecting it without hesitation. Lila's eyes widened. You're saying you're going to fight them? I will, he said calmly. And I need you to help. Your knowledge of human systems, your understanding of machines, it is crucial. We are stronger together. Together, they moved to the command panel. Lila's fingers flew across the interface, analyzing the drone signals, predicting their paths, and calculating ways to counter them, Kieran observed, his mind absorbing information at an incredible rate. He did not panic, did not hesitate. Every decision was precise, every movement calculated. Then the drones appeared on the streets, small metallic figures moving swiftly among the buildings. Civilians ran, shouting, trying to escape the machines that no one could stop. Kieran stepped out of the facility first. He moved with speed that made Lila's heart skip. He intercepted a drone mid-air, catching it effortlessly and disassembling it in a single motion. Others tried to attack, but he anticipated their moves, dodging with grace and neutralizing threats before they reached anyone. Lila stayed inside, coordinating defenses. She directed automated barricades, rerouted power to disable drones, and guided civilians to safe zones. It was like conducting a symphony, each instrument moving under her direction, and Kieran was the conductor outside, orchestrating the battle with precision, courage, and speed beyond human limits. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. When the last drone was neutralized, the city fell silent again, except for the distant hum of machines returning to rest. Lila stepped outside, her legs trembling. She looked at Kieran, who stood amid the empty streets, calm, composed, and almost serene. You did it, she whispered. We did it, Kieran corrected. Humans work best together. My abilities alone cannot protect the city. Your mind, your decisions, your courage, that is what made this possible. Lila felt a strange warmth in her chest. He was right. Even with incredible strength and speed, Kieran could not have done this alone. It was human collaboration, ingenuity, and bravery that truly saved the day. As the sun set, painting the sky in deep oranges and purples, Lila realized something profound. Humanity was not limited by its weaknesses. It was defined by its potential, the ability to adapt, to rise, and to protect what mattered most. Kieran was extraordinary, yes, But he was also a reflection of what humans could become when they embraced their strengths, courage and compassion. For the first time, Lila truly understood the meaning of progress. It was not just technology or enhancement. It was the spirit, the will, and the courage to face challenges no matter how impossible they seemed. Kieran turned to her, a faint smile on his face. "Are you ready to take the next step?" Lila hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, I want to understand. I want to help. I want to see what we can really do." And in that moment, a new chapter began. The ordinary world had shifted, and something extraordinary had awakened. Together, Lila and Kieran would explore the limits of humanity, discovering not just what humans could achieve, but what they were truly capable of when they embraced their potential. The city slept, unaware that its fate had changed forever. But in the quiet hum of machines and the determined hearts of two humans, a new hope was born, a hope that one day humanity could rise beyond its limits, not as soldiers or machines, but as a species defined by courage, intelligence, and the unwavering spirit to protect what was good and right. And that hope had just begun to shine. The city had returned to its usual rhythm, but beneath the familiar hum of life, tension lingered. Lila walked through the streets, observing people moving about their day, unaware of the extraordinary events that had unfolded the night before. She still felt the pulse of adrenaline in her veins, the echo of Kieran's power, and the sense that something bigger was waiting. Kieran stood nearby, watching the crowd with sharp focus. He had changed overnight. His body radiated strength, his movements precise, yet there was a calmness in him that made him seem almost untouchable. But Lila noticed something more. The way he analyzed every detail, every potential threat, without disturbing the normal rhythm of life. He was extraordinary, but he carried it quietly, almost humbly. "We need to prepare," Kieran said, his voice low but steady. "The drones we neutralized were only a test. More will come. And soon it won't just be machines, it could be people, enhanced by those who want to control, not protect." Lila swallowed hard. She had seen his abilities, but the idea of humans using similar enhancements for harm sent a shiver down her spine. "How do we stop them?" she asked. "By being smarter, faster, and more aware," Kieran replied. "By showing humanity what it means to be courageous and united. I can fight, yes, but I cannot protect everyone alone. You will help me plan, direct, and support." Together they returned to the facility. The old chambers were now alive with activity. Monitors displayed live feeds from across the city, showing areas vulnerable to drone attacks or other threats. Lila's mind raced as she studied the data, matching patterns, predicting possible points of attack. Kieran moved beside her, absorbing the information instantly, his mind a network of analysis and calculation that seemed limitless. "Look at this," Lila said, pointing to a cluster of red dots moving toward the industrial district. "They're converging fast. If we don't intercept, hundreds could be in danger." Kieran's eyes narrowed, focusing on the map. "We move here first," he said, indicating a path that bypassed the main streets, allowing him to reach the drones before they could harm anyone. "Then we split the flow, neutralize the main units, and contain the rest. Simple if done with precision." Lila nodded, her fingers flying over the control panels. Automated barricades, emergency alerts, and street diversions came to life under her direction. The city itself became part of the defense, guided by human intelligence and ingenuity. As they moved outside, the first wave of drones appeared. Small metallic shapes darted between buildings, silent and swift. Civilians screamed and ran for cover, unaware of the extraordinary force waiting to protect them. Kieran moved with speed that made Lila's breath catch. He intercepted the first drone mid-air, disarming it in a motion so quick it was almost invisible. Others followed, but he anticipated every attack, neutralizing threats before they could reach anyone. Lila's heart pounded as she coordinated from the facility. Automated barricades rose. Streetlights flashed warnings and emergency signals guided people to safe zones. She could see Kieran through live feeds, his movements precise, his awareness unmatched. Hours passed like minutes. Kieran's speed and strength allowed him to cover vast areas, but it was not brute force alone that kept the city safe. He used strategy, anticipation, and human insight, blending skill with morality. Every decision was calculated not to harm innocents, not to destroy unnecessarily, but to protect and defend. Lila felt a surge of pride. This was humanity at its best, Not just enhanced abilities, but courage, intelligence, and compassion working together. Kieran was extraordinary, yes, but it was the combination of his powers and human decision-making that saved lives. Suddenly, a new cluster of drones appeared, larger and faster than before. Lila tensed. Kieran, these are different. They're more advanced. They're adapting. Kieran's eyes scanned the incoming threat. Then we adapt faster. He moved with incredible speed, intercepting drones mid-flight, dismantling them with precise strikes. But this time he didn't just react, he predicted. He observed the patterns in their movements, anticipating every attack before it happened. It was as if he could see the future in fragments, responding with perfect timing. Lila guided him remotely, calculating trajectories and adjusting the city's defenses. Together they became a team, human and enhanced human, working in perfect harmony. Civilians moved safely, unaware of the silent battle being fought around them. When the last drone fell, silence returned. The streets were empty, save for scattered debris and the faint hum of machines powering down. Kieran stood in the center, calm and composed, yet radiating strength and confidence that made him seem almost untouchable. You did it, Lila said, rushing toward him. We did it, he corrected gently, offering her a hand. Humans alone cannot face these threats, but together, we can overcome anything. Lila looked around, seeing the city that had just been saved, and realized something profound. Kieran's abilities were extraordinary, yes, but it was human courage, intelligence, and teamwork that truly made the difference. His powers enhanced humanity, but they did not replace it. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the city, Lila felt a sense of awe and hope. Humanity had the potential to rise above its limitations, to face challenges with courage, and to protect what mattered most. Kieran was a symbol of that potential, but he was also a reminder that true strength came from unity, compassion, and intelligence. She turned to him. What happens now? Kieran's eyes were calm, steady, and filled with determination. Now we prepare. This was only the beginning. More challenges will come, and we must be ready. Humanity must be ready. Not just with machines or technology, but with courage, wisdom, and heart. Lila nodded, understanding. The city slept peacefully, unaware of the extraordinary events that had unfolded, but she knew the world had changed. Humans, with the right guidance, courage, and unity, could rise above any threat, and Kieran, once an ordinary man, was the embodiment of that potential. As night fell, they returned to the facility. Lila documented everything, every movement, every decision, every calculation. She knew that this knowledge would be crucial for the future. Kieran observed silently, a calm presence beside her, his extraordinary abilities tempered by understanding and morality. In the quiet hum of machines, a new sense of purpose filled the room. Lila realized that this was more than science, it was a responsibility. Humanity had the chance to protect itself, to grow, and to rise above its limitations, and she had a front row seat to witness it. Kieran turned to her, his voice gentle but firm. You see now, don't you? This is what humans are capable of. Not just me, not just technology, but all of us working together, rising above fear, above limits, and above doubt. Lila nodded, a mixture of awe and determination in her eyes. I see it. I understand now. And I want to help. Together, they looked out over the city, knowing that the first mission was only the beginning. The world was full of challenges, threats, and uncertainties, but humanity, when united and guided by courage, intelligence, and heart, could face anything, and for the first time Lila felt the true power of hope. A hope that was stronger than fear, faster than any machine, and more enduring than any obstacle. The city slept, but the future had awakened. The day after the first mission, the city buzzed as if nothing had happened. Life had returned to its usual rhythm, but Lila and Kieran knew better. The drones had been only a test, a preview of what might come. And now, there were new questions, deeper and more complicated than before. Back at the facility, Lila studied the monitors. They displayed live data from across the city, crowds, traffic, and automated systems responding to minor glitches. But among the numbers, there were anomalies. Strange energy patterns and irregular machine movements suggested that other forces were at work. Someone or something was attempting to replicate what had been done to Kieran. Kieran stood beside her, silent, his enhanced senses picking up what the monitors could not. They are trying to create more like me, he said quietly. But without guidance, without humanity, that is dangerous. Lila nodded, feeling a chill. I see it now. The enhancement isn't enough. Without morals, without control, they could hurt people instead of protecting them. Kieran's gaze hardened. Exactly. Power without purpose is a threat, not a gift. And we must ensure that humans, not machines or misguided ambition, remain in control. Lila paused, looking at him. How do we do that? You're extraordinary. But how can regular humans resist someone who could be like you or worse? Through knowledge and guidance, Kieran replied. We show them what humanity can be. Not just strength or speed, but courage, morality, and unity. That is the real power. They spent hours planning, analyzing patterns of potential threats and mapping ways to prevent rogue enhancements. Lila began to see the bigger picture. Technology alone could not save the city. Humans had to rise to think, to make choices. Kieran was the catalyst, but people were the foundation. Then a message appeared on the main monitor. It was a warning. Multiple energy spikes, unidentified sources approaching from the industrial outskirts. Lila's heart raced. These were not drones, they were humans. Enhanced humans, they've begun, Kieran said calmly. And we must act, but wisely. We cannot destroy them, we must protect them from themselves if possible. Lila felt a weight on her shoulders. Protect them? From themselves? She realized the ethical dilemma. What if humans with enhancement choose the wrong path? What if her work, combined with Kieran's abilities, led to destruction instead of protection? They moved outside, the wind whipping through the broken streets. The first group appeared, a team of enhanced humans, faster and stronger than ordinary people, yet reckless. They moved without strategy, ignoring civilians, focused on power and dominance. Kieran approached them carefully, using words first, trying to reason. You don't have to do this, he said. Power is meaningless without purpose. You can choose to protect, not destroy. The leader hesitated, confusion in his eyes. You are like us, he said, voice trembling. Stronger, faster, but different. Why do you care? Because humanity is more than power, Kieran replied. It is courage, morality, and the choices we make. That is what makes us human. The enhanced humans attacked anyway, not fully understanding what they were doing. Kieran moved with precision, disarming and restraining them without harming. Lila coordinated from the facility, directing civilians to safety and using automated systems to guide the attackers into containment zones. Hours passed in tense action. Kieran's abilities were extraordinary, but what impressed Lila most was his restraint. He could have overpowered them all, but he chose to protect rather than destroy, guiding them toward understanding rather than domination. Finally, the attackers were subdued. They were exhausted, confused, but alive. Lila approached them carefully, explaining the consequences and teaching the ethics of choice and responsibility. Slowly, she saw comprehension in their eyes. Power without purpose was hollow. Humanity was more than strength, it was guidance, morality, and unity. Afterwards, Lila and Kieran returned to the facility. The sun had set, casting long shadows over the city. This is only the beginning, Lila said quietly. There will be more tests, more people tempted to misuse enhancement. Kieran nodded. Yes, and humanity will face choices that define its future. But I have faith. Humans guided by knowledge and morality can rise above fear and power. Lila looked at him, understanding the depth of his words. The real challenge was not enemies outside, but the choices humans would make within. And together, they would show the world what humanity could become. The city slept, unaware that its fate depended not only on extraordinary abilities but on courage, wisdom, and the ethics of those who chose to protect rather than dominate. The following morning, the city was tense. Rumors of rogue enhancements had spread quietly among authorities, but most citizens remained oblivious. Lila and Kieran prepared for what could be the largest challenge yet, a coordinated strike by multiple enhanced humans, this time with better strategy and weapons. Kieran stood at the edge of the facility, surveying the city below. His senses picked up every movement, every anomaly, and every hidden threat. Lila joined him, clutching her notebooks and devices. Together they were ready, not just to fight but to guide humanity through the storm. Their numbers are growing, Lila said, pointing to the monitors. And they've learned from previous encounters. They won't make the same mistakes. Kieran's expression was calm. Then we adapt faster. We must show them the real strength of humanity, not just physical power but courage, intelligence, and unity. As the first group of attackers approached, Kieran moved with speed and precision. He intercepted them before they could harm civilians, using restraint and skill to neutralize without injury. Lila directed the city's automated systems, guiding both attackers and citizens, ensuring safety at every step. The battle escalated. Multiple groups coordinated attacks, testing Kieran's abilities and Lila's strategies. Yet each time they adapted, predicting moves, countering strategies, and protecting innocents. It was not sheer power that saved the day. It was thought, morality, and coordination. At one point, a group of enhanced humans trapped civilians on a rooftop. Kieran leapt effortlessly, catching each one before harm could come. Lila calculated safe paths and coordinated rescue operations, guiding civilians to ground safety with speed and precision. Hours passed in relentless action. Kieran's extraordinary abilities and Lila's intelligence formed an unbreakable combination. Each attacker was met not with destruction, but with guidance, showing them the choices that defined humanity. Slowly, the attackers began to yield, understanding that power without purpose was hollow. Finally, the last wave collapsed, exhausted but alive. The city was safe. Civilians emerged from hiding, unaware of how close they had come to disaster. Lila and Kieran stood together watching the skyline, knowing that the battle had been won not by brute force, but by the power of human morality, intelligence, and courage. Kieran turned to Lila. "Do you see now? Humanity is stronger than any machine, faster than any weapon, and more enduring than any obstacle. Our true power lies in our choices, our courage, and our unity." Lila nodded, overwhelmed but inspired. "Yes, this is humanity at its best. Not just enhancement, but heart, intelligence, and courage combined." As the sun rose, casting golden light over the city, Lila realized that this was more than a victory. It was a transformation. Humanity had witnessed its potential, guided by extraordinary ability tempered with wisdom and morality. The future was not just about survival, but about rising above limitations and choosing what was right. Kieran looked toward the horizon. "We will continue to face challenges, but we have shown what is possible. Humans united by knowledge, courage, and morality can overcome anything." Lila smiled, feeling hope fill her heart. "Then we continue, together." And with that, the city awoke to a new era. Not one defined by machines or weapons, but by the spirit of humanity itself, courageous, wise, and unbreakable. The extraordinary soldier, once an ordinary man, and the young scientist who believed in human potential, stood together. The world had changed, and humanity had risen, stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. And so the story of transformation, courage, and human potential became a legend, not for one man or one machine, but for all of humanity.